stay excellent, and just no matter how much timing and how much work that you do, somebody is always something's going to happen. In my case, I was, a lawyer, and then one of the lawyers I was working for got arrested.
Ooh. And
girl, it's a whole story. I'm spilling the tea, but how I had an employment contract with him to state that I was not a partner in his company. This was 400 lawyers.
Oh my goodness.
But, if I did not have my paperwork correct, I could have been on the hook for $400 million that he swindled. It was a big old scandal, girl. I love to talk about it.
Cheers, everybody. Welcome to the Cool Soror podcast, where we interview amazing women in Black Greek letter organizations. I'm your host, Rashan Ali, and I am so very excited to have the one and only Lisa Bonner joining us today, who is a member of
Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, of course.
Yes,
honey.
How are you today?
I'm good, Rashan. It is so good to see you. I am great.
Good. It's good to see you as well. We had a chance to sit down. Maybe this was prior to the pandemic when we did a live Cool Soror podcast taping at the Gathering Spot. But this time we get to be a little bit more intimate to find out everything that you have going on, all of your background. I like to get to the tea.
Okay.
And you like to get to the legalities.
Yes, honey. We're going to talk about all of it. I'm so excited.
Yes, you are a 20-year vet in entertainment and intellectual property. Now you are a brand new author. But let's take it all the way back.
Yes.
Were you always interested in the law?
That is so, it's laughable to me because no, I was not.
Okay.
I was never interested in being a lawyer. I actually didn't know what I wanted to do. Like, I just knew that in my family, like, everybody has graduate degrees.
Right.
And I was working as an investment banker, and I hated it. And I hate numbers, and I hate all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, I got to do something. And so I knew I couldn't go to grad school to get an MBA because I had to take the GMAT, and that involved math. So I was like, well, I know it sounds crazy, but it was like, well, what else can I do? I can write, and I can reason, and I can do all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm from the Midwest. Like, we didn't have everybody is a doctor, a lawyer, or has a government job, or a teacher. That's, when I grew up. So I didn't have big dreams of even being an entertainment lawyer. It's just kind of like I fell into it. But I had bigger dreams than, just being in no shade to St. Louis.
Right.
I just wanted to leave,
Right.
I just wanted to get out.
And then you went to Boston College for undergrad.
I did. I started there.
Yeah.
Hated it.
Really?
I did.
Why?
Because I felt, we could talk. I felt the white people were very racist.
Okay.
There were people about 90% of the student body was from a 50-mile radius of the school.
Okay.
And this was, I'm dating myself, but this was back in the 80s where people still hadn't seen a Black person in real life, you know? And I just felt, it was a small town mentality, white folks, and I was like, y'all just, okay.
You just didn't feel.
I just did not feel welcome and inclusive. And I've always been that girl, that Black girl, So, but I would have stayed, but I transferred schools because, I guess this is just God moving the needle. They didn't have a journalism program. And so I went there as an economics major. If someone who hates numbers, go figure, right? Girl, I didn't know what I was doing.
It's fine.
I didn't know what I was doing when I first went to school. So, but
it's hard to really figure out what you really want to do at 18.
Yeah, it is. And my brother went to BC. So I was like, oh, I'll just go there.
Yeah.
And we could not be more dissimilar. Like, he's a chemistry major, math minor. Girl, so I can't string any numbers and formulas together. So we are very different, and we socialize differently. But yeah. So when you went to the University of Missouri, Columbia, what is that? Columbia School of Journalism. Yes. Talk to me about the difference from Boston College to that experience. Well, it was a state school, and it was a much larger and more diverse population, which I enjoyed. Like, I loved it. And it, I'm being from St. Louis, 2.5 miles away. I had a lot of friends there already. I had already pledged, so I had my sorors there. So it was just kind of like, what I felt. It was a microcosm of an HBCU, like, for real, because we were very inclusive.
Okay.
on the yard at Mizzou. So, so it worked out. I loved it, got a great education and, had fun, a lot of fun in the process.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And so fast forward to you playing out your life as an attorney. Mm-hmm. When I talk to attorneys, they either love it or they absolutely hate it.
Yeah.
Where do you fall in?
I love it.
Okay.
Ironically, I do. But, it's because I do something that I enjoy, and I've been practicing for 25 years. That's a long time. And about year 20, right around when I moved here, even though I did move here to do production, I still was very, very burnt out. Like mm-hmm. I was like, I'm done. So I wasn't accepting any new shows. I didn't take on any new clients. And I was traveling like around the world, like writing for different magazines and, taking a lot of trips on my own and, selling my story to different, publications as a writer.
Yeah.
And still practicing. But that kind of hit the reset button for me because you're doing something for 2 decades and you're like, I just need a break.
Yeah.
I am tired.
Yeah.
And then I did that hard for like, about 1.5 years, 2 years. And then I was like, you know what? I'm ready to go back to work full time and start with productions again.
Yeah.
So I have crafted my life and my practice to be something that I really enjoy. So that is why I particularly love it. And also, I'm a transactional attorney, which is different than a litigator. Litigators go to court. Transactional, we're the people that put the contracts together. So if you see a show on television, I could represent either a writer, director, the production company that actually puts the show together and done all the legal work to bring all the cast together, yes. Or an album, representing the artist or the, production company. So what I do is it's fun.
That sounds like you get to pick what you want to do.
Yes.
Like, so it might be a television show one day and it may be an artist the next day.
Yeah. And I'm working on all of them kind of simultaneously.
Yeah. What would you say is your greatest accomplishment in the television space? I mean, I know you had a lot of shows that have been greenlit and that you've worked on. What would you say is your most favorite? Or can you?
I don't have a favorite.
Okay.
I like scripted and unscripted equally. I like production. I can say the least favorite for me is music because of the culture.
Yeah.
It's just, there's like no particular time frame. Like, right, you can show up to the studio and there's like, 5 hours late and there's just
and then they're like they have no regard that you've been sitting there for 5 hours.
Yeah. And for me, like that causes a lot of overage for, a client, and so I like I like structure, right? I'm prompt, I'm on time. So of course I like where there's unions involved.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get forced call, overtime,
yeah.
Meal penalties and stuff. It does not apply to me by any stretch of the imagination. It applies to the production. So you're going to start on time and you're going to finish on time.
Right.
Right? And I like that.
You like that?
I like that. I like structure.
Okay, good. So I want to get into this book that you have written.
Yes.
The LegaliTEAS of Entrepreneurship.
Yes.
LegaliTEAS. Yes. I love that. I love that. Why do you feel like it was so important to write this book and put it in layman's terms?
That's a very good question. I felt it was important to write this book because there are so many. Let me just take a step back. Another reason I enjoy what I do is because I do it on my own terms, right? I am an entrepreneur, and I have been an entrepreneur for about 20 of the 25 years I've been practicing, which makes it easier for me. I don't have to work for somebody. I don't have to have a client I don't like. I don't have to work on a production that I don't want to do. I don't have to, if somebody, whatever it is, I call the shots. I eat what I kill, but you have to know how to run your business like a business. And in my practice, because I represent a lot of entrepreneurs and companies as well, so many people don't know how to put a business together. They're like, I started my LLC and that's that.
Yeah.
And it's like, girl.
Who you talking to,
okay,
girl? Who you
right.
talking
to? I'm like, oh my God. And so I have the knowledge. I have the war stories to back it up. I have I want to help people, right? And I have the tools to bring it to people because, I mean, this book is a complete reflection of me.
Right. And
it really teaches you how to build your business from A to Z. Or you can pick it up anytime in between. If you have a question about, should I, start an LLC or a corporation, you could pick it up. Mm-hmm. If you're looking for funding, you could pick it up and look at that chapter. But I also wanted to tell people about the stories and the war stories and the anecdotes and how to live your life successfully and with excellence and start your business and with excellence and balance.
But see, you had an advantage because you kind of knew in the beginning, like, how to do it.
I learned in the beginning how to do it. Nobody sat down and taught me how. There was no course that taught me.
But you took courses as an attorney.
Right, but you put it all together. There's different kinds of attorneys, Right. And that's what I talk about in there. Like people like, people come to me all the time. I have a case and I'm like, okay, first of all, I'm not a litigator. Mm-hmm. I don't go to court, so that's the first thing. Most people don't even realize there's a ton of different kinds of attorneys. Like you wouldn't go to a brain surgeon to have open heart surgery.
Right.
It's the same with a lawyer. We're very different. So I'm not a big corporate attorney at all. If you want, you want your package to be put together where you have stock options that are deferred and all that, that book is not for you, mm-hmm. right? That's not the book. We're talking about entrepreneurs who are starting their businesses and how to do it right.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm giving the reader the tea on how to do it because it's not that difficult. It's out there.
Right.
The information is out there, but you can hire a lawyer to do it. You can hire your accountant to do it. Or you can hire both. And you need a team of people. Mm-hmm. No woman is an island. And that's what I talk about in there. That I don't do my taxes.
Right.
I don't run my payroll. I don't know how to do all that stuff. I just know it needs to be done in order for me not to owe Uncle Sam any money, mm-hmm, right? Mm-hmm. In order to make sure that my taxes are filed on time, in order to make sure that my corporation has a certificate of good standing.
Yeah.
And to make sure that I'm paying taxes in both New York and Georgia,
Yeah.
And those kind of things.
Yeah.
So it's all of that is in there, mm-hmm. and I had to pay people to do it.
Yes.
So that's what it really kind of takes you through all of it.
All the steps. So what would you say, like, for somebody like me, now we talked about this briefly before we got started, I have an LLC, I have an SCorp, I have a nonprofit, and it's like, but I was like what the person that you said, some people just get an LLC and they just get an LLC. And I was like, who are you talking to? That's me.
Right.
And I feel like, when people may look at my life, they were like, oh, she's got it all together.
Yeah.
Sis just really getting it tight. You know what I mean? Is it ever too late?
No.
Yes.
That's what I mean, it's once bitten, twice shy, or it's easier to start it from the beginning, but a lot of people just don't know what they don't know, right? And so I have the ability to really kind of talk to, like, people look at me and know, like, you could say a whole bunch of stuff about me. Most of it's good and true. But one thing that you will consistently hear about me is Lisa Bonner knows her stuff.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Like I know how to lawyer and I know how to run a business.
Yeah.
And so with that in mind, I want to tell you that it's not too late, right? It's not too late because if you get in trouble, if not you, but if anybody gets dinged by the IRS, they're going to be more apt to course correct, right? Mm-hmm. And so this is to really help you to start. If, if you have formed your LLC, depending on what state you're in, you might have to do another step. Like if you're in New York, for example, you have to file, for a name publication in a newspaper. A lot of people don't know that. And so you go to New York and you just file an LLC and you're like, well, okay. And that's not all you have to do. In California, you have to file a franchise tax, so you're not an $800 tax. So you're not really official until you do that. So there's steps, that people that it's the information is there. And, I started an LLC. Well, why did you start the LLC? Why? That's
I started it because I know that was a rhetorical question, but
no, and that's why I want to ask people, like, why did you start an LLC and when do you start it? You started for protection from your from taxes and from liability to shield your business from your personal assets, but it has to be set up correctly.
Right. And it has to make sense.
Right. And it has to be done legally, because if it's not done legally, you can't use it as a tax vehicle, and you could pierce, the corporate veil to shield your assets from liability.
Right.
You know, so those are the two reasons that you do it, but you have to make sure it's done properly.
Right. So I did it because I wanted to, when I was blessed to be on Sister Circle, I wanted to pay myself through my business.
Yeah.
And so my CPA said, this is what we need to do. And so I did it that way. But then
did you file an SCorp election?
Now tell me, wait. So I have another business that's an SCorp.
Okay.
That is in my name. Mm-hmm. So is that smart?
It depends, and I always tell people to really talk to their accountant, because it depends on how your business is set up. A lot of people, if they're paying themselves a salary, or you could do an LLC with an SCorp election. The differences of an LLC is that you pay yourself a reasonable value of your services.
Okay.
Right? So you don't pay self-employment tax. You don't pay these other taxes that you would pay if you were an LLC with an SCorp election, or a corporation that files an SCorp election.
Lord.
I know, but I break it down real simple in the book.
Right.
And so there's tax benefits, obviously, for you if you file as an SCorp, because your profits can flow. You're not double taxed on your profits from the business. They flow through your taxes to they flow through from your business to your personal income tax, and you're taxed one time. And so you're taxed differently.
That's what he said in that email the other day. Okay,
right.
it's all coming together.
It's all coming back.
Right.
Right.
Right. That's good. So when people, close this book, what is what would you say there's so many takeaways, is the greatest takeaway? You have the art of saying no. You have trademarks, which is very important.
Yeah.
Copyright, so many different things. But what's the most important to you?
The most important to me would probably be the structure of the corporation and hiring independent contractors versus employees, understanding the difference. There's a big difference. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
People's like, I'm just going to 1099 somebody, but they have somebody working from 9 to 5 that every day of the week, and they're coming into an office and going to give them a 1099. It's like, that girl, that's an employee.
Yeah.
And you best know that that's an employee, because Uncle Sam, the IRS, both federal and state are coming for you.
Yes.
Because so I want people to know the difference. Mm-hmm. So those are the two, I think. There's so much knowledge in there. It's hard for me to pick one, but
absolutely.
I always say you have to make sure that you have properly laid the foundation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you talk more about that on your own podcast too. How is your podcast set up, and you give the tea as well? How do you?
I do, and
balance that?
Girl, I'm trying to figure out how to balance it, because you know how producing these podcasts are. It's a lot.
Yes.
So I'm on hiatus, maybe coming back for another season. But I do talk about that. I really talk to people about how they got to where they were, because what I want to do in my podcast is, a lot like, we are empowering people, and you're empowering sorors and cool people of the Greek alphabet and so many others. But on mine, it's really entertainment focused, right? Mm-hmm. And so giving people an understanding of how things work behind the scenes, what it takes. But it's very similar to the book. I'm always digging into how, and don't think you're the only person that this has happened to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that's what the book is about. You could pick up any book, and I'm going back and forth. I know about the
it's
podcast
totally fine.
But
we're just having a conversation.
Right.
It's all good.
But it's the thing is that I think this is most important for entrepreneurs to understand is it happens to everybody, right? And if you have forewarned is forearmed. So in between the book that I talk, I give you the A to Z on how to structure your own business. I have what's called tea time. And I sit down with the reader and I give you war stories, cautionary tales, anecdotes, and first person real life stuff that has happened to me.
Wow.
On how, or, me, or stories, mostly it's first person.
Yeah.
And just stuff that has happened in my life on, so the first half of it is really, how to really stay excellent, and just no matter how much timing and how much work that you do, something's going to happen. Mm-hmm. In my case, I was, a lawyer, and then one of the lawyers I was working for got arrested.
Ooh.
And girl, it's a whole story. I'm spilling the tea, but how I had an employment contract with him to state that I was not a partner in his company. This was 400 lawyers.
Oh my goodness.
But, if I did not have my paperwork correct, I could have been on the hook for $400 million that he swindled. It was a big old scandal, girl. I love to talk about it. It's a scandal. But I wasn't implicated because I didn't do anything. My hands were clean, and
you had the legalities.
I knew how to structure my paperwork correctly.
Yes.
And so that's what I'm talking about. But had I not, when they came in there and tried to and were unraveling the firm, through the bankruptcy court, I knew. I'm like, here's my paperwork.
Lisa was cool.
Yeah. Here's my stuff. Here's, how I bill my clients.
Yeah.
And so that's why I really do get into, people's lives and, really trying to find out their stories because, we all come from, different backgrounds, and we're all out here trying to do God's work.
Yeah. Lisa, I've seen you. We've been in the same places. We've been to events together. I follow you on Instagram. I was enamored of you because of your travel in the very beginning. I'm glad that you wrote this book because now people get to know that part of Lisa because you don't go around saying, I've got a lot of shows that I've, written contracts for and then got greenlit. Why do you keep that to yourself?
I don't know. I get that a lot. Like I do get that a lot about, the people I represent or the shows that, that I've done, and just,
Look, you're uncomfortable now.
Yeah, I don't know. I always say, I wish I had more. It's just my work, know, and I put in the thank you. I'm so honored that people trust me with their livelihoods. Like this is really something that I don't do for sport. It's something that, for each show that I represent, there's 200 people, whose livelihoods are counting on the fact that this go off without a hitch. Mm-hmm. The album, same, it has to be brought in under budget, and that so many people are going to listen to, so for me, I don't really, it doesn't become real until I see it, about to be on television.
Yeah.
Like I was watching the news this morning, and Becoming a Pop Star they're doing, some trailers for that. And they had a couple of people interviewing on Fox. And I was like, oh, that's my show.
Wow.
And I couldn't, I haven't even seen any, a lot of the show.
Yeah.
A lot of it, are you doing like the whole background work for all the, so yeah.
Now you see, you're just sipping your coffee on my show. It's amazing. It's fantastic. That's me. That's me. But sometimes you got to bask in it.
Yeah.
You got to bask in it. What do, I mean, besides the travel, I know that you travel journalist or whatever, but you have inspired me so much just because of the way that you immerse yourself in travel. Where did you get that love for travel from? Because I know that came before people said, hey, we'll pay you to do this. Or, can you write about this?
Yeah. I think I probably got it from my dad. My dad was in the military, and he had that wanderlust as well. And, we traveled when I was younger, but, we weren't going to Europe, like most Black families back in the day weren't going, to Europe. But we did take nice, vacations. We would go to, Mexico, the Caribbean, different places. And he would take us, through the Pacific Northwest. And, so I just grew up kind of traveling, and then just St. Louis, people don't understand when we grew up, it was such a different age because the internet has the globalization of everything. It just, you can be anywhere, right? Mm-hmm. But growing up in St. Louis, other than like our summer vacations, I wasn't going away for spring break, like I wasn't doing that. Like, the kids nowadays, they're taking 5 and 6, they're taking trips like adults, right?
Yeah, ask my daughters.
Right, I know, exactly. We weren't doing that. Yeah. So like I remember I was at home watching MTV, and I saw a Duran Duran video that was for Save a Prayer. And it was shot in Sri Lanka. And it was the most beautiful video I had ever freaking seen in my whole life. And I mean, they were just traipsing through the jungle and these big, statues of the Buddha and this lush, like, rainforest. I was like, well, I know what I want to do. Wow. And I just remember saying, I just want to go to Sri Lanka one day.
Yeah.
And then I went to Sri Lanka one day and then I wrote about it.
Wow.
In Yahoo Travel. And my editor was like, and because we were going to all these UNESCO sites and I was like, I'm kind of like going through a Duran Duran video. And she was like, I love that idea. And I was like, you know what? I do too. And like, I literally went through a Duran Duran video. Like, and I was that girl. I liked all kinds of music. I liked every kind of music. Yeah. And I may or may not have had a crush on John
Mellencamp?
John Taylor, one of those guys.
I don't know.
It was one of them. But but I love music, and that was an escape for me. And so that travel, like, I just loved to see that. And then I started.
Out of all the 84 countries that you've been in, what's your top 3?
I would say Sri Lanka is up there. I love, like, the Far East. Like, I think Bali is amazing. I love, Burma, like Myanmar. I liked Israel.
Wow.
It's really sad. Like, travel not only for it being so beautiful, it really gives you a sense of culture, right? And to know that these people are people. Like, for instance, I'm looking at all the people who have left Russia.
Yeah.
Not only Ukraine,
right,
but the people, the ordinary citizens that live in Russia. And I went to Russia and I have stood, like, in Bolshevik Square or wherever, like all these, that, like, and you see these people, and the Russian people were so nice, and people, and I went over there as a guest for Russian Fashion Week.
What?
Of all things. And I was like, ain't no black magazine gonna put that up. Like, nobody cares about Russian fashion.
Right.
And I told the girl, she was like, come anyway. I was like, okay.
Wow.
So, and not to say that nobody cares about it, but there's so many other big, like, it was going to be hard for a magazine to pick it up. So I don't want to sound, like that. But so what I'm saying is that when you see people, real people that are over there, like, just living their lives, under a freaking dictator.
Yeah.
They have state-run media. It's crazy, and so to be over there and to see it, and then it's like, and the girl who invited me was Ukrainian.
Wow.
Ironically.
Man. I think that what you're alluding to is that you get to see people, like, you get to see humans, because the media will make you think that everybody's under Putin and doing exactly what it says,
it's
and
not
agrees
that way
with it
at all.
Yeah.
And like, just like everybody else, there, no culture is monolithic, right? That's just not how it is. Sure, you have your pro-Putin supporters and, all that, but most of the people there, it's very, it's westernized. They had Starbucks and McDonald's, they have certain media that they could, get, and they travel. So they're not under, like, an iron curtain, so they have regular everyday citizens and people that have had to literally flee because they don't agree with what's going on over there.
Right.
And, God knows, and we know that we just have this, certain affinity for what, the Ukrainians in our hearts because of what's going on. But on the flip side of it, a lot of Russians are being run out too. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like, you get to see, nobody will realize and even stop to think about it. Like, because if you don't go, you don't really know.
Yeah.
And so that's what I love most about traveling, the human element of it, and really getting to see people.
Yeah.
And knowing that we're all the same, and very few people, people are more good than bad.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
especially when you're rooted in love.
Yeah.
So back at Boston College, you became a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Yes. Did Alpha Kappa Alpha choose you, or did you choose Alpha Kappa Alpha?
It chose me.
Okay.
For sure. I mean, I would have not have chosen any other way, but, I am a legacy. My aunt and my mother. Okay. So, I mean, if I even probably looked at another sorority, it was like, girl, so,
yeah.
But, like I said, I couldn't see it any other way.
Yeah.
I love my sorors.
When it's all said and done, Lisa, what are the 3 words that you want people to remember you by?
That's a good one. That's a good one. 3 words. Love, smart, and fun.
Yeah, that's you.
Yeah, right?
That's you.
Thank you.
Love, smart, and fun.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I think that would sum it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can people support you with the legalities of entrepreneurship?
Well, you can buy it anywhere books are sold, on Amazon, and you can follow me on Instagram or everywhere at Lisa Bonner.
Keep it simple, right?
Keep it simple.
Yes.
Yep. LinkedIn, all of it.
Good.
At Lisa Bonner. Twitter. I guess I need to really kind of start getting my Twitter back on.
I love Twitter.
I do too.
But I don't use it.
I don't either.
I know. How you gonna love it and you don't use it?
I think when we had the former president in, who shall remain nameless, that kind of took the fun out of a lot of my social media.
Okay, gotcha.
So I was like really active, and I was like, I just can't be consumed by it. And that's, again, we talk about in that book, is balance. Balance is so important, and
I got one more question.
Yeah.
Who made you so fearless? Or what made you so fearless? Because it seems to me that when you think about it, damn it, you do it.
Yeah, that's interesting. My parents and my brothers, my immediate family, I would say my dad and my brothers, because I have a lot of male energy. My mom is like, she's like the doting mom, but I think it would be my dad and my brothers and God, for real. Because, I'm the only daughter. I'm the only girl. I'm 7 years younger than my youngest brother.
You're a baby girl.
6 years younger. And I'm the only girl for 4 generations.
Oh, my goodness.
Isn't that crazy?
Oh.
So, yeah. So, and then when I wanted to start my business, I told my mom, I was like, well, Bucky, that's my oldest brother. That's his nickname. I was like, well, he's an entrepreneur. He's a doctor. He had, but people don't think when you go to the doctor, most of them are not, unless they're with a Kaiser or something.
Private practice.
They have private practice.
Right.
And so when I told my mom that, she was like, oh, okay. So what could she say?
Right. Nothing.
Yeah.
But
so
support
that
her,
was
baby.
it. Right.
Yeah,
exactly. And here 20 years later, I'm like, ha ha.
That's right. That's right. Well, thank you so much for being a part of the brand new season of the Cool Soror podcast.
I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
And congratulations
thank
on a
you
new
so
season.
much. Yes.
And I'll be tuning in.
Thank you.
I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. Make sure you get it, the legalities of entrepreneurship with the one and only Lisa Bonner. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. That was juiciness.